Hello, my friends, and a big happy new year to you all. Releasing this episode first thing on New Year's Day, and I'm wishing you all a very, very happy, joyous, hopeful start to the year, wherever you're at. And in saying that, this period of your life may be really hard right now. It might not have been a good New Year's, Christmas 2024 for you at all. Or it might have been amazing, or it might have had peaks and troughs and ups and downs like mine certainly did. And so I want to meet you wherever you're at here today and wish you hope. Because there is nothing, I think, why we all love, certainly why I love a new year, is because there is this just renewed sense of hope in everything, in ourselves and in our ability to change, to create, to call in, to get more into alignment with the things that we want and that we desire. There's just all this hope floating around, and it's pretty powerful stuff. And the title of today's episode is Why Not You? And this episode is really about bringing into the energy of 2025, calling yourself forward out of the limiting stories that you consciously or unconsciously place upon yourself. I have really noticed in 2024 that I personally have had a lot of underlying limiting stories about myself, my career, my relationships, my life. I've got this story floating around in my head that says I can only have one, that I can only have success in my career or business, or I can have romantic relationships, partners, friends, family, kids, and all of that. And those are both two really big dreams of mine. And in the past, when I was younger, my late teens, early 20s to mid 20s, I was really wounded. I was acting from a really wounded place. My own father wound, not having a dad growing up, was so strong, and it controlled a lot of me in my life. And I swung very hard to one side of the story, which was I'm so desperately afraid of being abandoned or of being rejected or of not belonging in this family that I yearn deeply and desire to create in my bones, and the love that I want. I'm so deeply afraid of being rejected or abandoned and not getting the love that I want that I will go after this other side, and I'll swing to the other side and I'll go after my career, and I'll be this hyper-independent, successful career gal. And I spent so much of my life dedicated to that. That was my identity, my personality, and I was that person that was known for her drive and her persistence and her determination. And in my awakening, in my journey of healing, I've really worked with these wounded parts of myself, and I've seen how much that came from fear. And so guess what I did? I swung the other way. And this is a really interesting thing that I think we all do as human beings. We have this tendency to overcorrect when we learn something about ourselves and we have this breakthrough and we figure something out, and especially on our healing journey, we have the tendency for a while to overcorrect and to swing rapidly in the other direction. And that's certainly what I did. And so for the last definitely sort of 18 months, after having this big realization that, oh wow, like relationships and love, friendships, romantic relationships, family, having kids, all that stuff is so important to me. And it's so, so, so tender and close to my heart. And it's something that I really want and desire. And it's really important to me. And so I swung the other way, and I poured all of my energy for the last 18 months. I poured all of my energy into my relationships, into my friendships, into dating, into love. And I have to tell you, I'm so glad I did swing the other way, because I have felt like my heart has grown 3 times its size that it was, and I now understand how important all this stuff is to me, and how relationships are really my foundation and how important they are to me. But, and the theme of this episode is calling out limiting stories, and there is the story at play for me, and I'm sure there's a story at play for you, where there's one part of me that doesn't believe that I'm allowed to have both. And in the overcorrection, in the swinging through to prioritizing love and relationships, I sort of abandoned and almost rejected the part of me that really wanted to have this big career, to change the world, to have an amazing business, to be really impactful, and to be really quote unquote successful in that arena. And I pretty much abandoned that part of myself over the last 18 months. It's been this journey of almost sort of just letting that go. And I'm at this point now where I'm like, wow, like she's coming back. That part of me, she's still there, but she's not wounded anymore. And that's really new for me. But there's still this story that I'm only allowed to have one. There's still this deep fear that if I pour more energy into my career, into my business, that means that I'll be taking the energy away from the love and the relationships that I have created and formed and prioritized in my life, which has brought me so much joy and improved my mental health 3,000 times. But there's this massive story that I cannot have both. And I feel like we all have a version of this story of why we can't have the things that we want. And this question has been hitting me lately is, why not you? Why not you? Why do you not deserve to have those things that you want? Why couldn't you have a family and an amazing career or business? Why couldn't you have all the things that you want? Why couldn't you have fulfillment in your relationships and fulfillment in your career? Why not you? And in this episode, and I think it's really important to do this work before you start diving into what 2025 looks like, I think it's really important to call yourself forward, to bring those limiting stories that we all have about why we're incapable, why we're undeserving, why we're simply not allowed, why two things don't go together, or whatever your version of this is. I think it's really important to see those stories and to see the impact that they're having in your life, to see the way in which you choose to limit yourself. And you've got to remember that this is a choice. This is a choice that you make every single day. A choice to believe in the wounded story, or a choice to create your own. And I know that this time of year, it's so fun because we're thinking about all of the possibilities. We're thinking about, what can I change? What can I achieve? What can I do? What can I see? What can I explore? What can I create? How can I renew myself? How can I be different? How can I improve myself? How can I improve my quality of life? We're asking all these questions. We're asking all these questions at this point in time. But before you do that, I really want you to think about, and this is a little exercise that I so invite you to do right now here with me, is thinking about those things that you really want. Thinking about, if you could have it all, what would that be? If we could wave a magic wand, what would you be doing? What would you be feeling? What would you be experiencing? And for me, that is this creation of a family and having kids, meeting a wonderful partner, having amazing supportive friends and family around me, and having this awesome community. And it's also having this super impactful business that grows beyond my wildest dreams, that impacts people far and wide, that does exactly what it's meant to do. It's to write a book. It's to have this podcast go absolutely viral and get signed by Spotify. It's all of these things. And it's to travel, to see the globe, to go to new destinations. It's so many things that I desire. And part of this exercise is then filling in this blank and asking yourself this question: why not me? What are all the reasons? What are all the limiting reasons that your ego, your younger self, the wounded parts of you, or even maybe stories that you've heard from other people about you or about life and how it works? I was speaking with a client the other day about the belief that things have to be hard. And I think this is such a key one, because so many of us end up believing that we have to work really hard and we have to struggle and we have to sacrifice to get something and to work towards something, that the journey has to be painful, essentially. And I don't know about you, but that seems like a really difficult way to live life, to set goals. And upon exploring that story, she discovered that story was not even hers to begin with. Like so many of these stories and so many of the belief systems that we each carry, when we look at them and we trace them back to their roots, we did not create them. They were chosen for us. We absorbed them in our sponge years, those ages from 0 to 7, where our brain is just a sponge and we absorb everything from around us. And that's really important. It's really important because you are the creator. You are the creator of your life. And in order to create the life that you want, you got to get quiet, man. You got to listen in. You got to get clear on what's important to you and to your heart, and then what's getting in the way of that. And this, for me, has been the journey of healing, especially healing the wounds that I have with my own father, with growing up with that sense of abandonment and rejection and just not being good enough from the get-go, and the wounds that I've carried into my romantic relationships, into my friendships, into the relationships with my family, and really seeing how much I shut myself off in an attempt to protect myself, and then ultimately realizing how painful that existence was. That has been the journey for me. And with the realizations that we each have on our healing journey, like I said, we have the tendency to overcorrect, to swing in the other direction, to do things the complete opposite way in an attempt to correct it because it makes the most sense at the time. But a big part of healing is not abandoning those parts of yourself, And I think a lesson that I've really learned this year has been I don't need to abandon the part of myself that wants to grow an amazing business, that wants to put energy into it, and that it is possible. It is possible to have both. But in order to do so, I need to get clear on what are these stories and belief systems that are at play. What's going on in the back of my mind when I start to set goals? How does that show up in my behavior? How do I then change that? And how do I want to live? How do I want to ensure that I can have both? What does that look like in terms of my behavior? What boundaries do I need to have with my work life and my family or friendships or relationships? What does it look like? And so I want you now to ask yourself that question and let your ego shine through. What are those? Why not you? When it comes to the life that you want, all those things, what does your ego or your inner child or any of the wounded parts of yourself, if you let them speak, which remember, this is not a bad thing. Often people don't want to even acknowledge that they have these voices, these limiting voices in your head. But let me tell you, the voices are going to be there. The limits that you place on yourself, those stories, they're either unconscious or they're conscious. They're either operating beneath the surface and happening without you even realizing, or they're happening and you see them, you acknowledge them. And when you do that, you have the power and this ability to work through it and to change it. So what are all of the reasons why not you? Why are you not allowed? Why are you not capable? Why are you not allowed to have the things that you want? Are you too dumb? Are you too stupid? Does the world not work that way? Are you like my client and, you have to work hard for it and it's exhausting you and you're tired? Are you not smart enough? Are you not creative enough? Are you not cool enough? That's certainly a big wound for me, especially on social media. I often feel like I'm not cool enough. And that gets in the way so much. It's really difficult. But whose definition of cool am I looking at? Who gave me the idea of what's cool and what's not cool, But I think it's really important to list these out, to look at them, to let your limits be heard, to let your limiting, wounded parts be seen, to bring them into the freaking light, to stop hiding from them, because this is the only way that you're going to be able to become the creator of your life. So I hope you do that exercise now, and then I hope you start to actually listen. I hope that when you're met with a voice that says something like, I'm not cool enough, or I'm not fashionable enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not capable enough, no one will listen to me, I'm not qualified enough, I'm not lovable enough, I'm not sexy enough. When you see and feel those parts of yourself and they finally speak to you and they finally tell you what's been going on beneath the surface, and they basically are telling you, here are all the reasons why we've spent the last however many years setting goals for the year and not even beginning to get close to achieving them. They're telling you they want to be there, they want to be seen and heard. What I found and what I still continue to be in awe around is watching clients meet a wounded part of themselves and seeing the massive difference in their energy just from meeting and seeing that part of themselves, from not hiding them away anymore. Actually, and in this parts work, it's essentially called rescuing a part, because this part has been locked away for a long time. All our wounded parts, we lock them away, whether that's because you went through trauma, whether it was attachment wounding in your childhood, whether it was a horrific breakup, whatever it was, we lock those parts of ourselves away, and they are parts of us that are in deep pain and they need help and support. Think about how good it feels when you're in a moment of pain or difficulty or a challenge, or you're feeling a bit insecure, and a friend just supports you through it. They see it and they get you to talk about it. I remember one of the most beautiful moments I ever had this year, and maybe one of my best friends will be listening. I was in a moment of struggle, and we were staying at my house in New Zealand together. And she was tucked up in bed in the corner and she was getting ready to go to sleep. And I came in and I was really struggling with something. I was really, really just feeling heavy. And I was just, when you're feeling icky and sticky and uncertain and you're just going into a spiral in your own head, and I could feel it happening. And I came in and she knew something was off. And she said, hey, you all right? Like, what's going on? And I opened up the tiniest bit. I said, just a bit stressed about XYZ. And I said, but you go to bed, no worries. It's late at night, we can talk about it tomorrow. She just turned over and she looked at me and she said, the most powerful words I think you can never say to someone. She said, do you want to talk about it? And I looked at her and I was like, oh my God, yeah, I really do. And I think that moment was everything. And these are the moments that we often miss with ourselves. And I would not have been able to have had that moment of receiving support with that amazing friend of mine. I would have not even been able to enter into a friendship like that in the past, because I hadn't done that work on meeting those parts of myself, on actually building through continuous repetition, building the belief that the wounded parts of me, the parts of me that are going through pain and struggle, they deserve to be loved and they deserve to be seen and they deserve to be heard. I don't have to have it together all the time. Nobody's going to think less of you, but you deserve support. And without doing that with those parts of myself first, I never would have been even able to accept support like that. I wouldn't have been able to open up and receive support and love. And that conversation shifted everything for me. And I just think the value of being able to learn to work with and to even just simply see, feel, hear, and validate the parts of ourselves that are still in pain, the parts of ourselves that have been through things, that have been through life, that have been through pain, through heartbreak, through bullying, through judgment, through shame, through fear, through all of these horrific things that life can sometimes throw your way. Seeing and meeting those parts of you is just magical. It's magical, and it's why I continue to do what I do. And they will reveal to you, they will tell you all of the limits that they have. They will tell you all the reasons why they believe that you can't achieve what you want, why you can't have everything that you want. And that's how you start to change things. Why not you? Why don't you deserve to have it all? Why are you not capable of having it all? Before you start the journey that is 2025, check in with those parts of yourself. See them, hear them, get to know them, get to know their limits and their beliefs about what you're capable of, about what you deserve, about how the world works. The little stories that we have, like my one of you're only allowed to have your career or love. You're only allowed to have family or a successful business. It's one or the other. Check in with those stories. Challenge those stories. Rewrite those stories. Please. The wounded parts are begging you now, because I can tell you, you deserve the world. And you're worthy of love. You are a likable person. You deserve to feel good, and you deserve to go after what you want. And it might not happen, but you deserve to go on the journey. And part of going on that journey is finally getting quiet enough to listen to what's really important to you. And that's my next step. That's my next step that's really important to me at the moment in my career and in this business, is to start getting quiet and to start getting clear on what my version of success actually looks like. Because at the moment, I feel like my brain is just filled with the idea of what other people's version of success looks like. And when we're in a bit of a wounded space, it's really easy to believe that their version is your version, that the way they've done it is the way that you have to do it. And you couldn't be more wrong. And this is, again, part of this healing work, is learning to get quiet, to tune in. And through working with those wounded parts of you who have all those limiting stories, once you see and hear all the limiting stories, guess what you're left with? You're left with this big, massive door. The door is directly to your intuition, to your heart, to your soul. It's like all the wounded parts sort of end up standing in front and guarding this door, and they don't want to reveal what's actually really important to you in your life and what would actually fulfill you. But until you start seeing and hearing them and working with them, over time, they'll slowly start to step back, and they'll let you open that door through to your intuition, through to your heart, to your soul, to what your journey is meant to be, to what's so important to you, to what you'll be so fucking grateful for on your deathbed, however many years that is from now. They will reveal to you what you're going to be reminiscing about then, what you're going to be so freaking grateful for that you did or explored or achieved or experienced or created, or whatever your version of that is. So my question to you as we start 2025 is, why not you? Identify those limiting stories, listen to them. You will be amazed at what seeing and hearing those stories will do for you. You don't need to fix everything overnight, but you can do this. And as always, if you want support on this journey, one-to-one coaching is exactly where that's at. in the new one-to-one coaching program, which I was testing last year, which is now going to be officially launching very soon with its new name, which is really cool. But in this incredible program, over 8 weeks, you learn the skills and the tools to be able to meet all the different parts and versions of you. The wounded parts, the parts trapped in traumatic stories, the parts trapped in the past, in old relationships, in your mistakes, in your limits. And you learn to work with those parts of you that have been limiting you or holding you back in any way from being able to let go and move forward, that have been stopping you from being able to be the person that you want to be, to live the life that you want to live, to believe in yourself, to ask for what you need, to go after what you want, to raise your freaking standards, all of these things. It's an incredible 8-week journey working through emotions, learning how to feel and process them, learning tangible skills for actually how to deal with your emotions so that you can grow emotionally and no longer be affected in ways that maybe you have been in the past, where your emotions have either overwhelmed you or you've avoided them and learnt to lock them away. We then work through learning somatic work, which is an incredible therapy skill and tool that we all need. And then we work with our parts, learning to work with all those different parts of yourself. And finally, in the last stage of the program, is about creating clarity, opening that doorway to your intuition, and really getting clear on what is important to you, what is going to bring you immense joy, what are you here for, what does your path look like, and what do you need to do, to experience, to be, to achieve, what do you need to be doing to make sure that you're walking your path in the best way that you can. It's an incredible program, and I'm so proud of the creation of it, and I cannot wait to officially launch it. But if this is your time, and you are going, okay, I'm ready, make sure you send me a DM on Instagram with the word coaching, or you can email me, kathleenmindsetcoach@gmail.com. All of the contact information will be in the show notes. And I would love to hear from you about what's landing in this episode and what your limits are, what your stories are, all those things. Why not you? I guarantee you we're going to all share some of them, and some of them will be unique to you. But you're not alone in this journey. You're doing so well, and I am so excited for a brand new year that is 2025 for you. And I'll see you soon.